The Perma Green Triumph. What is it? Who or what is it intended for? Is it the right choice for any professional lawn applicator or anybody with a big lawn? That, my friends, is what we're going to talk about today. The Perma Green Triumph is your everyday ride-on lawn sprayer and spreader for the average lawn pro or anyone who has a lawn that's way too big for push spreading. Although it is primarily targeted at pros, it can also be very useful to anyone who has a super big lawn, as previously stated. With that being said, what is the everyday lawn applicator applying in the eyes of Perma Green? According to Perma Green, it's an asset to your business as it not only allows you to ride on, but it also allows you to spread your granular fertilizers while in conjunction spraying out your pesticides, herbicides, weed controls, all of that stuff at the same time, whether it's a blanket or spot treatment. And in the eyes of the consumer, that would save them time and energy, which would allow them to go out and make more money. So pretty cool. So to further complement what I just said, I think it's fair to go ahead and mention the overall trend coming up here in the lawn care industry, whether it's pro or DIY. I think we can all acknowledge that liquid lawn fertility and specialty products are becoming more and more of a common practice in conjunction or as a replacement to your regular granular program. But that can influence your buying decision if you are more prominently liquid, or at the very least, you have more liquid in your program than that basic vision from Perma Green that I just laid out a couple of seconds ago. How does this influence you as a buyer of the machine? Well, before we get into that, we need to take a look at the mechanics. This machine is fully equipped with a 150-pound hopper as well as an 8-foot spread width, and I could also say the same about spray width. Speaking of spray, this machine covers up to 1 acre with just a 12-gallon tank. Seems pretty impressive, doesn't it? You also have both a high and low speed you can run the machine in, and on top of that, you also have edge nozzles and wide nozzles that you can turn on and off to compensate for both the high and low speeds. All in all, a well-grounded machine that gives you a smooth riding experience. I can say that from experience. That will fit in pretty much any tight space that most machines wouldn't be able to. So that right there is a win. Now, there are all sorts of other cool side features I could get into, but that's not what this video is about today. The angle I am taking with this review is solely on the spread and spray capabilities and how that can compensate to the current market we are in with the lawn fertilizer industry. With that being said, what does Perma Green have to say about it? Well, I got to pull up here, and if you take a look at Perma Green's website, they are targeting more of an entry-level lawn pro who's only spreading granular as their fertilizer option. Again, whether that's just fertilizer or combos such as herbicides, in conjunction with the occasional spray of your herbicides, your insecticides, and your fungicides, whether that's a blanket or spot spray. That's really who it's targeted at. And from my experience, I can say it's got all the bells and whistles needed to do that. Plus, it fits in tight spaces. Did I mention that earlier? So from a complete noob's perspective, someone who just got their fertilizer license, they finally decided to start offering it as a service, or maybe you have a big lawn that you've been push spreading and backpack spraying for quite a while. When you buy a machine like a Perma Green, it seems like a big upgrade, and it really is, because it does alleviate a lot of the stress in everyday lawn operations, especially if you're spreading and spraying, right? Now, me, when I started, I was prominently liquid, but for most of you, the way you start is you have a push spreader and a backpack sprayer, and that's how you're doing a lot of your weed control on small lawns. When I got the Perma Green, in that situation, for a lot of people who do granular that I've talked to, it's like an alleviation of stress, energy consumption, and time, because not only are you riding, but you're taking the two separate actions and you're putting them together. You can ride the lawn, save your energy, and on top of that, you can also spread and spray at the exact same time, which is going to cut your time in about a third, especially if you're doing small lawns. A lawn that used to take 15 to 20 minutes to push spread and backpack spray now takes 4 minutes with the Perma Green. So it's a time saver for a lot of people. So from a bird's eye view to all of us, it's a major upgrade. But like anything, this major upgrade does come with its pros and cons. Pros. Number 1. I don't have to walk my lawns anymore. That's a positive because I'm saving time and energy to make more money. Because what happens to you at the end of the day when you're tired? You don't feel as motivated to get out there and keep growing your business. When you're a solo owner and operator, having machines that kind of save your energy is going to help in keeping that motivation to keep working on your business more than just in it. So having a machine like Perma Green is valuable in that situation, in that I don't have to walk my lawns anymore and my time is cut by like a third. What was once 15 minutes is now 4 minutes. Now, my next pro actually kind of further expounds on that, and that is the fact that the consistency of my applications are much better. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of people who watch this channel are DIY lawn care guys. They have one property they have to worry about, so when you're doing treatments on that, you don't really have to worry about this problem. But just to give you a little bit of the pro perspective. So me at the moment, I take care of 55 lawns, and I'm looking to grow that quite significantly this year. Now, with that being said, this kind of brings me to the next point. If you're walking all of those properties all of the time, one thing that can happen is your energy levels go down, you get tired, and as you get tired, that can throw off your calibration, especially if you're doing things on foot. Whereas when you're riding, you're kind of preserving that energy a little bit, and you don't have to worry about your calibration relying on how fast you're walking or your posture or anything like that, as it's already dialed in on the machine. You don't have to worry about it with that machine. It's very simplistic. If you're running it in high gear, you keep the high gear nozzles on, you keep the high gear settings, it'll run the same all day. Same goes with the low gear settings. Now, you do have to calibrate it every round like anything else, but for the most part, it stays the same, and your application consistency is going to be better overall when you're taking care of multiple properties. So the cons: as great as the spray tank is engineered, you only have the ability to output 1 quart per thousand. If you do the math on that, that's about 12 gallons to the acre. The 12-gallon spray tank system on the Perma Green will cover 1 acre of turf the way it is calibrated. That is great if you're doing granular fertilizers and herbicides, and really nothing more than just that. Maybe your specialty products here and there if you're a little more advanced. Now, where it gets a little bit stressful is when you're prominently a liquid lawn applicator trying to utilize this machine. Let me explain. Most liquid fertilizers on the market have very high use rates, and that's normal because when you're putting them up against granular, you need that high use rate to make sure you're getting the bang for your buck out of that liquid, right? It's a fertilizer, it's a higher use rate. And because of that, they do better with higher volumes of water. And as a general rule of thumb, liquid fertility products, especially if you want to tank mix in other things like specialty products, root growth stimulants, your herbicides, you want to mix all of that together if it's applicable. As a rule of thumb, you want to have a machine that can output 1 gallon per thousand, if not more, because water is your friend when it comes to spraying liquid fertilizers. Whereas with the Perma Green, you can maybe get away with 1 fertility product in the tank mixed with a herbicide, but where it gets a little tricky is you're like, oh, I want to add in a specialty, maybe I want to add in a root growth stimulant, maybe a surfactant, all these other things, which is all good and fun until you realize the problem is because you only have 12 gallons that cover an acre. As you add more to that mix, you're taking away the water, and when you take away the water, that's where a couple of things can occur. Number 1, clogging, right? I recommend running the Perma Green with the screens. Number 2, burning lawns. As I mentioned before, with liquid fertilizers, I don't care what you're using, you need enough water volume. If you don't have enough water volume and you go out and spray, and it most likely happens to be on a summer day, you're gonna burn something. I would know from experience. Perma Green and liquid fertility programs, in my opinion, don't mix very well. The Perma Green, for the longest time, has been a revolutionary piece of equipment. It's one of the first of its kind to combine comfort and efficiency out on the field, which is a plus. But to answer the question on everybody's mind, should I buy this machine? I would say it depends on your situation and what specifications you are looking for to meet the criteria of that situation. For instance, as I mentioned a couple of times throughout this video, if you're an entry-level applicator, great. This is gonna work perfect for your granular ferts and your liquid herbicides. It's gonna do you just fine in that situation. It's gonna fit in tight spaces. It's a stable ride. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, or maybe you're a little more invested in the liquid lawn fertility like me, I'm prominently a liquid applicator, that's where I would say maybe do your research. There are a lot of great options in the green industry to meet your needs no matter what they are, and Perma Green is just a portion of that, if that makes sense. In the end, the Perma Green Triumph, or really any Perma Green that has come before it and that is to come after it, is a great machine when it is used for its intended purpose.